Hey, good morning, everybody. John Felt here, and this is the Blue Water Outlook Weekly Weather Briefing for May 19th. Well, it looks like a couple things I want to bring to your attention here. I'll show that in just a minute, but we're going to have an active week again, severe weather, heavy rain in spots, and high heat. So let's get started in today's weekly weather briefing. I'd like to start off by showing you the threats this week. Bring to your attention level 4 moderate risk across Kansas for severe weather. That risk goes right through the week. This is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we're going to have severe storms most days this week in some spots. I also want to bring to your attention the excessive heat and humidity extreme, which is very rare, and it is across parts of South Texas. And we're going to have some significant high heat and humidity in the Northeast as well. And finally, some very heavy rain that's going to result in the potential for flooding over parts of the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. Okay, now let's go back to last week and look at all the severe storm activity we had um, across the Gulf Coast. And Houston has just been hit with one thing after another. This week it was a derecho, 100-mile-an-hour winds, and unfortunately, at least 7 fatalities. We've had heavy rain in that area, extreme rain as well, and now we're going to have extreme heat. So they are just getting everything down in Houston and surrounding areas. These are the tornadoes we had last week. They were scattered across the plains to the eastern U.S. Now, if you look at all this pockmark type precipitation estimates, what that is more individual thunderstorms or lines of thunderstorms, and that's a sign that we're getting into late spring or early summer. Heaviest rain right along the Gulf Coast. This is a track we've had this spring from eastern Texas all the way over into the Florida Panhandle. 1 to 3 inches of rain. I see some purple in there. That's even more. That's an estimate of as much as 10 inches in that area. And I'm sure that's resulting in very severe flooding in those areas. Again, not too far from Houston in this area of eastern Texas. Now, temperatures last week were well above normal in these areas in red. Take a look at parts of North Dakota, parts of Northern California. That's 10 degrees above normal. We also had significant warm air over hot air and humid air over south part of Florida. I think I saw Key West had a heat index of 117 last week, so very muggy air. And if you want to look at the hottest temperatures of the week, anything in orange is above 100 degrees, and we even have some 105 in the desert southwest and far south Texas. If you read my posts, I've been talking about these areas, not just over the last week, but going into the summer months of where we could have some really high heat over parts of the Southwest, parts of Texas, and parts of Florida. So those are areas that are already setting the stage for that unusually hot weather. So we have a boundary here. We have a temperature boundary. We have a moisture boundary. Here's the moisture boundary as seen in the dew point. 41 dew point, Iowa, 64 in Missouri. So a very strong boundary between dry air and moist air. Now, rivers have settled down a bit. These rivers are generally coming down now. We have some minor flooding on the Missouri, on the far lower Missouri, and also the middle Mississippi, but that's gradually quieting down a bit. Look around Houston and parts of eastern Texas still have major flooding, and red being moderate flooding in those areas. Okay, so what we have here is under this area of low pressure, it's a sort of a cool, showery air mass. Under this area of high pressure, it's a very hot, oppressive air mass. And right between these two, where these air masses meet, is where the action will be this week. Now, by Saturday, next weekend, we have a big area of low pressure here, and that's going to bring in some cooler air, pushing it down to the south. I want to also say that's going to push that warm air in the East Coast, so we could have some really warm, muggy conditions in the east. And you see that the next 5 days. Here's that temperature gradient right here, the cool air, the warm air, and the clash between those two is where the action will be. This is later in the week right here. And then this cool air gradually settles in, and you can see it extends down as we get into late May into early June into this region. So that's temperatures. Let's look at rainfall. Well, it looks like the action is going to be in the Midwest into the Great Lakes this week. This is an area that we haven't seen that much heavy rain lately, but Minnesota, 1 to 3 inches of rain, locally 4 inches or more. Parts of Wisconsin, Iowa, South Dakota, Nebraska, very heavy rain in those areas. Everywhere else doesn't look too eventful, very dry in the southwest US and just scattered precipitation in the east. Let's look at week 2. Well, doesn't really show cool air, but it does show that warm air is pushed down. Now look at South Texas, that stays, and Florida, it stays in that hot conditions all the way through the next 2 weeks. There's our precipitation for week 2. Now, in case you didn't notice it, the outlook for June came in, and here we go. I tell you, if you're in this area here, the southwest, south central US, you are looking at perhaps a brutally hot summer, and also drought conditions are going to be expanding as well. That's your weekly weather briefing, and I hope it helps you in your planning this week. I will be updating you throughout the week on the severe weather and other topics as well. Hey, have a great week.